Yesterday in Clayton on the St. Lawrence River, Master Sergeant Brandon Fulmer from Fort Drum sat down with a country music singer from Nashville. And Fulmer wrote a song. It's about how often service members are away from home.
I would have to say it's about, say, not worrying or worrying too much, being gone, being separated, like whether you're deployed, TDY, you're like somebody's wife or significant other may be able to relate to it, of like being home, worrying about everything, whether it's, what your family, kids, money, and also your significant other being deployed.
Fulmer's song will be performed tonight in Clayton with other songs written by young veterans and a Gold Star widow from Jefferson County. Operation Song to kick off Memorial Day weekend on today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Clarkson University, offering over 95 programs of study with campuses in the Hudson Valley, Central, and Northern New York. More at clarkson.edu.
Hey, I'm David Summerstein. It's Friday, May 24th. First up, 8 traditionalist Akwesasne Mohawks were arrested on Barnhart Island near Massena Tuesday evening. They were protesting ongoing negotiations over the historic Mohawk land claim. The incident exposes long-standing disagreements within Akwesasne about how to handle the land claim. Here's my story about that. On Tuesday evening, several Mohawks put up signs on Barnhart Island asserting Mohawk ownership of the land. The island is now owned by the New York Power Authority and home to the hydropower dam across the St. Lawrence River. State police said the Mohawks were trespassing and intentionally damaging property. The island is part of the historic Mohawk land claim, which is nearing a settlement. Doug Ganadio George is a member of the Mohawk Nation Longhouse, a former land claim negotiator, and a supporter of the Mohawks who were arrested.
They wanted to let the people at New York Power Authority know that the community of Akwesasne was opposed to that settlement, and they wanted something more significant coming from that facility.
The Mohawks won a huge victory in court in 2022 when a judge ruled New York State had taken thousands of acres of Mohawk land illegally in the early 1800s. And since then, New York has been negotiating with the U.S., Canadian, and traditional Mohawk councils to seek a final settlement. The U.S. recognized St. Regis Mohawk tribe said in a press release that Barnhart Island was taken illegally in the 1800s, and it understands Mohawks' long-simmering anger. But the tribe said the trespassing protest was by a small group of individuals and was not productive or helpful. It said the land claim talks are nearing a positive resolution that could add 14,000 acres of land to Akwesasne. But Ganadio George says those talks have been too opaque for the consensus-based traditional Mohawk system of decision-making. And he says some Mohawks believe they're not getting enough compensation for Barnhart Island. When the dam and seaway was built there in the 1950s, they brought invasive species and toxic chemicals that forever changed Akwesasne.
When they put the dam there and then south of there, the St. Lawrence Seaway, it caused massive ecological and social trauma to the people of Akwesasne. It disrupted our traditional way of life. It disrupted their fishing runs. It changed radically our diet.
It remains unclear when the details of the proposed Mohawk land claim settlement will be released to the public. The subject has become a major issue in upcoming elections for the St. Regis Mohawk tribe, which are set for June 1st. David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio. Tonight at the Thousand Islands Harbor Hotel, the group North Country Troopers Assisting Troops presents Operation Song. It's stories about military life through original music made by North Country veterans and family members. Retired First Sergeant Mike O'Brien is one of the organizers of tonight's concert. He told Monica Sandreski that it's a powerful event in the style of a Southern guitar pull.
The veterans will be up on the stage with that songwriter, and they'll tell the story behind that song the songwriter will then perform the song, and it's such a cathartic and amazing experience. We're lucky to be able to highlight these veterans and honor them in their community, and just have the opportunity to tell their story. And the guitar pole, the form, the way that we do this, it's really the best way to hear the heart of each story. And, when these songs are played, you can just really hear a pin drop in the room as the performance will start. And I promise you, there will also be some tears shed as well.
It sounds so, like you said, like just so, such an intimate setting to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and the crazy thing is that, these veterans and these songwriters, they never met each other before today. So there's a lot of trust that goes into sitting down with someone you've never met and kind of bearing your soul and telling your story. But our songwriters are so amazing. They have this ability to put the veterans and the family members at ease, and kind of just, I don't want to say pull the stories out of them, but they encourage them to talk about things and let them know that it's a safe environment for them to do so. And, usually after about an hour, they start to loosen up and they start to talk about things that are really important to them. And that's when the songwriter really starts to go to work. They pick up on those things and they start writing it down. We have one veteran that we wrote, or actually a Gold Star widow that we wrote with today. And her song and her story was so powerful that the songwriter was literally able to complete the song in a matter of about 2.5 hours. It just wrote itself.
In your experience, what has this meant to the veterans and to the families who have been part of it?
Oh my gosh, we could give you countless stories. When we write with the veterans, we never ask them to relay a combat story or talk about any trauma that they don't want to mention, that they don't want to talk about. The invitation to write is open to whatever they want to write about. We've had a veteran who had spent 30 years in the military and never owned a home. He always lived in government quarters. And so he was so excited that he could buy his first house, and his song was called Forever House. Another veteran wrote about his dog. Another veteran wrote about his mom. And so it's a lot of people think that when we write, we're writing about some trauma or about some combat experience. It's just about military life in general. I can tell you, my personal story. When I went through the program as I was retiring from the Army, I wrote a story about me retiring and my son joining the Army. And that became such an emotional and healing tool for me and for my son, that it really allowed us to process all of that and kind of really built our relationship and made it stronger. And we've had veterans come out and say Operation Song absolutely saved my life.
And I can only imagine too, for it being in Clayton, not too far from Fort Drum and Watertown, and and we have so many veterans in the area. I can only imagine for the people who come, how meaningful that time is too, or to hear songs that even in a way get at something that they've experienced too in their service.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's ripple effects to all of this. Veterans that haven't participated in the program, they'll come tonight and they'll hear these songs, and there'll be things that they'll hear that they can relate to and can possibly heal from. There'll be family members that come tonight, and they'll possibly hear things in this song that their veteran never told them before, and it helps them to understand now. We hear that time and time again. And so everybody that comes to the performance, whether they took part in the retreat or simply just come and hear the songs, I guarantee they'll be touched by what they hear.
That was retired First Sergeant Mike O'Brien speaking with Monica Sandreski. Operation Song is tonight at the Thousand Islands Harbor Hotel in Clayton at 6:30. I know that's coming right up, but if you're in the Thousand Islands right now, go check it out. Music today by Tim Ellifritz of Johnsburg and Dan Berggren of Ballston Spa. I hope you have a Memorial Day weekend full of fun and sun, and hopefully also taking a moment to give thanks to our military veterans who have died for our country. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.